Good morning. It's great to be here at Elizabeth Baptist Church today. This is probably one of the most welcoming churches I've been in a long time. Even though my car evidently set off an alarm a little while ago, you were still nice to me. I know how annoying that is sometimes. But from the minute I walked in, y'all just wrapped your arms around me, even gave me coffee, took me down to the cafe. I mean, this is quite the full service welcoming wagon you've got here, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You know, Elizabeth Baptist has been a partner with us in all of these ministries that you see up on the board. And what we like to say is it's a lot of ministries, many ministries, beating with one heart. And that's the heart of Baptist Children's Homes in partnership with churches just like you. And you have been a magnificent partner. I'm going to throw a few numbers at you this morning, not many. But one is, we just had a birthday not too long ago, Baptist Children's Home that is. And as of November the 11th, we are 134 years old. And I think that's special. Let's do that. From the very first child that came into care, which was Mary Presson, back in 1885 on November the 11th, to today, we've been serving children and families through lots of ministries, and we've got quite a few today. And I'm going to focus on just a few today. And if you want to know more, you're always welcome to go to our website and look at all the ways that you can get involved, both as a church and individually or as a family. Another number I want to throw at you, though, is it may make your eyes bug out a little bit, because just last year alone, Baptist Children's Homes and all of these ministries touched the lives of over 94,000 people here in North Carolina and in Guatemala, where we have another ministry. But to me, the most important number that I'm going to tell you this morning is this. Just in the last 5 years alone, we've had 669 folks come to know Christ through the ministry of Baptist Children's Homes, and most of those were kids. So yeah, thank you. I mentioned a ministry that we have down in Guatemala, and whenever I think of that one, I think of a story I was told not too long ago, and it was about the early Christian church. And in Rome, the early Christian church at the time was a small, persecuted minority there. But they had a special purpose that they were very intentional with. In that day, it was not uncommon for folks, if they were to have a child that was unwanted, the wrong gender, not a good time, maybe an infirmity, they would take that child outside the city walls and leave it for the elements, for the wild animals, whatever. It was put away, left to die. But the early church at that point also had a mission. And they would intentionally go outside the city walls looking for children, babies that had been left to die. And they would wrap them up and bring them back. And most of the time raise those babies as their own. That's what they were known for, the early Christians, the little Christ. And we still do the same thing today. That's what the church is about, is living out that gospel story. And that really is the gospel story, isn't it? The most vulnerable, redeemed. We're adopted, all of us. We were redeemed when we were out there so far that we could not come back. That's when Christ came down and He made a way for us that we could be adopted into the family. we're joint heirs with Christ. We have all the same privileges Christ has. We can call God Abba, Father, Daddy. And now we get to live out that gospel story. We get to tell it over and over again through our words and our deeds as we serve children and families. We all know the verse, James 1:27, you've heard it. Religion is that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. And then even as far back as Isaiah, in chapter 117, it says, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Psalm 68:5, a father to the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in His holy dwelling. That's who God is, and He invites us to be part of His character. A clear call from both the Old and New Testament. That's now part of our spiritual genetics. It's part of our spiritual DNA. If we're born into that family now, we can't help but live out who God is. And that's His character. This is my story. It's your story. And we must live it out. Now, Philippians 3:10 also says this: I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of His resurrection and participate in His suffering. Doggone it. We've got to participate in His suffering. That's what it says, though. And Paul recognized this. He saw this simultaneous joy and pain. And I'll tell you, when we serve children and families, you have both. You have that wonderful joy of helping a child. Seeing them light up, seeing them have love for the first time maybe ever. But then you also see their pain and you participate in that pain when you work with these children and families. It gets messy. When we have volunteers come, I always say, look, you're going to have the best time of your life. But when you get close to these kids and start working with them, it's going to be messy. So if you don't want the mess, you can't participate in the joy either. I've got some pictures, just a few I want to show you this morning. This is about our ministry in Guatemala. Some of you may have heard, some of you may have even been down there. Have we got anybody that's been down to our Guatemala ministry? Well, dadgummit, you're going to have to go. We've got groups going down all the time, and we would love to have you go. Just want to show you a few pictures, not many. This is the first one, and this is just a day in the life of kids, and I think we've got a group down there working with them from the looks of it. This is a group of children there that we've had a church provide scholarships for some of our kids, all of our kids really, to go to a Christian school there. The public schools there, not good, pretty much non-existent really. But they have provided a scholarship for some of our kids to go. And think about it. If we can introduce Christ to these kids and we can give them a good, godly Christian education, we are going to change that country from the inside out. These kids are going to be able to go places, talk to people, do things that me or anybody like me would never be able to do in that country. Show the next one there. Now this is a guy, I don't know if you can recognize him or not, but I know he's been here a few times, Jay Westmoreland. Some of you may know him and his family. I took him down to Guatemala for the first time a few years ago, and that man fell in love with those kids down there. And they have since decided to help us build a home there, another home. And this is the Westmoreland Cottage, and that's him and his family standing in front of it right after it was finished. We now have about 11 kids in there that would have literally no place to go if we were not there. Now don't pull up the next one yet. I'm going to show you one more picture from there. And this church is the first church to get to see this picture because it just happened this week. Part of what we do is reminiscent of the story I told a little while ago about what was happening in ancient Rome. Well, guess what? It's still going on today. It's still happening. It happens here, but it happens a lot in some of these third world countries. And there's a lot of reasons that it does happen, but it does happen. And that is kids get left, abandoned to die. Show the next photo. This young baby, we named him Joseph Emmanuel. He was found earlier this past week, literally in a gutter, left to die. And we were able to bring him in. We brought him through our medical clinic first. And he's got lots of problems. But when I found out yesterday, a later report, he's doing pretty good. He's starting to gain some weight. And I think he's going to make it. We have no idea about parents or relatives because there's no way to identify this child. So unless somebody comes forward or somebody says, I saw so-and-so with the child, there's no way to know. But through your help and the help of other folks like you, we are able to care for him as long as he needs us. We will not abandon this baby. We will keep him for as long as we need to. Now, you kind of expect, it's Baptist Children's Homes. You expect us to help children, and we do. But there's something you may not know about. We have something called the North Carolina Baptist Aging Ministry. We call it NC-BAM. And sometimes we even get excited and say, NC-BAM! This is where we serve the frail elderly, and we do it through a call center. Folks can call in to get information that they might need. It gets so complicated with all the stuff, and we can be a trusted source that's not going to sell them anything or give them bad information. But we also, through local congregations, have outreach so that we can help someone with a wheelchair ramp. We can help them with a smoke detector. We can help fix a roof. We can help fix a window. Whatever it takes to make them be able, one, to stay at home a little longer maybe. Another thing that we get sometimes is we'll get calls in the call center that say, I haven't seen anybody or talked to another person in weeks. Would somebody be willing to come visit me and talk to me? And of course, churches like this and others, they jump on the opportunity to get to minister to some folks like that. And I've got just a short video I want to show you of one lady who was ministered to in such a way.
As we celebrate 10 years of serving North Carolina seniors, NC-BAM is proud of what we've accomplished. Our call center has answered more than 25,000 calls, serving over 4,000 aging adults and meeting needs in all 100 counties across our state. NC-BAM has mobilized church volunteers to build wheelchair ramps and grab bars in homes, offer transportation assistance and lawn maintenance, as well as prayer and friendly visits. Altogether, through NC-BAM, church volunteers have spent 33,000 hours serving the frail and elderly in their communities. One day, the center received a call from Marjorie Bass in Hickory. Marjorie needed help with groceries. Patsy Lyons from Woodlawn Baptist Church picked her up and off they went.
I was able to help go get groceries for her. That's when I first met her, that was one of the biggest needs that she had. It's really a blessing to be able to just be there for somebody and help them in any way we can, and we kind of hit it off, and I've just enjoyed being around her.
It's a friendship with Patsy because she would come over and visit, but then I got to where I couldn't get around as much. So she would go and get groceries for me and bring them in the house, put them away, and just about everything.
So I just continued to pray for her that God would open up her heart and that she would accept him into her life. So one day I asked her, I said, Margie, would you like one of our pastors to come and speak with you? And she said, that would be great. So that's when Pastor Jerry came down to visit with her.
So I just sat there and shared with her the gospel, used the ABCs plan, which is what I normally use, to communicate that with her, and asked her if she would be interested in doing that, and she said yes. So we prayed right there in her room and asked Jesus into her heart, and it was just amazing to see the transition in her countenance just almost immediately at how God changed her in that, and now she's studying and learning and growing, and it's exciting.
Oh, it means all the world. It's completely different. Have a completely different outlook on everything.
The fact that she's invited God into her heart gives her a peace and a joy.
I think the MCBAM organization is a great thing. They help a whole lot of people, not just me. Sometimes when you get old, people seem to ignore you. So having an organization that is looking out for you means all the world.
A simple act of love rippled through eternity. As we celebrate our 10th anniversary, we want to say thank you to North Carolina Baptist for volunteering, for praying and supporting this growing ministry. Call NCBAM at 877-506-2226 to join us in the journey.
Isn't it awesome that even in the 70s and 80s and 90s that people can still come to know the Lord? And it makes such a difference in their lives. You know, it's easy to look at her and say, you know, how much of a difference? But it made a world of difference to her and how she looks at eternity now. And we've had others do the same thing because somebody who is a Christian went in and served them in some way. Sometimes they'll say, why are you even here? My own family won't help me. Why are you here? And that's when we can share the gospel with them. It makes such a difference. You know, every time I see that video and I hear her say, sometimes when you're old, people ignore you, I inevitably, on my way home, have to call my mama because I could hear her say, he's not called me enough this week, so I'll probably call my mama on the way home today. Another ministry that I want to talk to you today about, though, is one that we're really ramping up a little bit more. We've done it for a little while, but we're seeing sort of an urgency with it, and that's our family foster care program. You know, we have kids come and live with us on campus. We have cottages that they live in that are very, very nice. We have wonderful house parents that live with them. Sometimes it would be wonderful if we could have a family that they could go stay with and be their foster family for a while. One of the things we don't want to do, though, is we don't want to plaster billboards up or have TV ads. We don't want just anybody being foster parents to our children. We want folks like you. We want folks in our Baptist churches that we know will show them the love of Christ, that will bring them to church, that will have a church family. We know that if we can get a few families in a church like this, the church, and I know your pastor, you're going to wrap your arms around that family and that child. You're going to make sure that that family's taken care of, that they have a night out, that those kids have a good Christmas. You're going to make sure, because they're going to be part of your family as well. That's why we want to use our local churches to get the word out and to recruit families in our family foster care program. I'm going to give you a couple more numbers. One is in 2018, last year, and it'll be interesting to see what 2019 holds. But in 2018, there was 16,769. I'm just going to say 17,000. 17,000 children in North Carolina were removed from their families due to abuse and neglect. That's just in North Carolina. That's our neighbors. That's people here in Shelby. That's people in my hometown of Silva, Asheville, Sharp. 17,000 children in 1 year were removed from their home. And I think about my kids, they're almost grown now, but when they were 10 or 11, what would they have been thinking if strangers had come, pulled them away? Now they're someplace they don't know. How would your kids react? What would you think if you were a child and all of a sudden your whole world that you know is turned up? That's what that many kids are going through right now. One more number. There's 4,000 churches, Baptist churches, in North Carolina. That's only a little more than 4 kids per church. This is doable. Think about it. Because there's some big churches like here, some little churches. If you only average 4 kids per church, we can minister to every one of them. All those kids can have a family like yours. This is the gospel story, isn't it? Christ came so we could have a family, so we could be part of God's family. How can we not be a part of making sure that every child is taken care of? There's a family I want to introduce you to. Their last name is the Cook family. And they have been such an inspiration to me. And they have fostered, I don't know how many kids so far, but this is a story of them as they were starting. They even added a room onto their house so they could take in one more child. Go ahead and show the Cook family video for me, please.
I'm Roger Cook. This is my wife Chanel, our son Jackson, and our daughter Michaela. When we met and got married, we always talked about we wanted at least 4 children. When we got pregnant with Jackson and Chanel delivered, there were some complications that didn't allow her to carry again. So we looked into foster and adoption. Michaela came to us as a very shy and timid young lady, and through our love and God's love and everything, she has popped out of her shell. She is very energetic. She is bright. She is very talkative. She's the little spark plug to our family. She's always laughing and joking. She's just a wonderful child. We had received a call in January about a 7-month-old little girl. It was emergency placement. God laid it on my heart to text Chanel. So I texted her and I simply told her, God's calling. Are you going to answer the call or are you going to let it go to voicemail? And you going to tear up on me? So she texts me back and she tells me just a couple minutes go by, I'm on my way to get her.
And she has really been a missing part, a missing piece of our family. Her smile just captures us every day, every morning.
And then we talked about adding a room on to take in more.
We know the love of Jesus Christ, and we should plant that seed anywhere and everywhere we can. And it begins with a child.
Danetta called back, and there was a 9-year-old little girl that needed placement. So we took her on, and then we took on a 21-month-old little boy. So we're all the way from 17 years old to 1-year-old.
Baptist Children's Home is an amazing organization. I always said I was going to work here. You have their support, they're a godly Christian organization, plus you get to meet other people that are going through the same thing as you, and you have the support of them as well. I tell people, I encourage them to foster through Baptist Children's Home because they have just more resources. They have more help and more hope than anywhere else you're going to go. We are so proud that we partner with them and proud to say that we foster through Baptist Children's Home.
Yes. So we built the room, and he's filled it. That's just God's timing is just totally amazing. I like to say that it's their journey and it's our journey, but it's God's story. It's God's timing and it's God's plan. We just have to be willing to answer that call when he makes it.
I'm going to give you a little bit of an update on this story too. It's either this past week or this upcoming week, they will have finished the adoption of their second child. One of the kids that they were fostering now will be part of their family as well. And I love spending time with this family. They're such an inspiration, and I hope that you guys will think about what can Elizabeth Baptist do. I see a lot of young couples in here that I think would make great foster families. Be thinking about that. We also have a new partnership with an organization called the Christian Adoption Services. And some of you may have seen this in the Biblical Recorder or in our publication, Charity and Children. Back in July, we signed a formal partnership with them so that families can, from the very beginning, they'll be working with us if they want to continue on and do adoption. Even if they want to do international adoption, it's seamless. You'll never know where we stop and they start, or vice versa. And we are so proud to partner with this organization. Kevin Qualls is the president of that, a great friend. So if you know anybody that's looking to adopt or foster to adopt, send them our way and we will fix them up. One more story that I want to tell you is about two little boys. And they were living with their mama, and mama got hooked up on drugs and was not able to get free. And these boys were found living in the woods in a tent with their mom. And I think there's an insert in there that tells a little bit more about it if you want to see. But I'm going to show you a video about their story. And then after the video, I'm going to do a Paul Harvey, the rest of the story for you. So enjoy this video. I think it'll touch your heart.
I always wanted to go camping. You know, a big adventure for our whole family. Mom and Dad take me and my little brother Jonah shopping. We pick out our tent, sleeping bags, and cooking stuff. I find the best tent, big enough for all 4 of us to sleep in. Dad and I look at the fishing gear while Mom and Jonah pick out the food. Hot dogs for dinner, and for dessert, chocolate, marshmallow, and graham crackers to make s'mores. Oh boy, I can almost smell the s'mores cooking over the campfire. but it's only a dream. All of it. My brother's right there where I left him, trying to stay warm by the campfire. We don't have a dad to help us with the campfire or take us fishing. We don't really know him. He's never been a part of our lives. We have a mom, but she sleeps a lot. She's been taking too much of her medicine again. She doesn't know when to stop. Mom has a boyfriend, but I don't like talking about him. He's not nice to us. And this isn't some big family adventure. This is where we live. This is our home. John and I barely make it to school most weeks. We're so far behind, it isn't funny. The best thing about school is we get to eat, and we always save some for later. We'll never know when we get to eat again. The other kids are laughing at us again. We have to wear the same smelly clothes every day. No one wants anything to do with us. Who knows what they would say if they knew we took a bath in a creek? Mom's probably been sleeping all day again. Bet she let the campfire go out. Mom keeps promising she's gonna do better. That she's gonna stop taking all that medicine so she can get a job. Maybe today will be the day. John and I will get to the campsite. She'll be wide awake. The fire will already be going, and she'll smile and run and hug us like she used to.
Hi, boys. I'm Terry. Listen, everything is okay. Your mom is safe, and we want to make sure that you're safe too. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Will you trust me?
Yes, sir.
Good. Let's go. Let's go.
Hey. I'd like to introduce you to Jacob and Jonah.
Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jonah.
You guys all right? How about we look at a little bit of the house? I'll show you the dining room to start with. Right in here where we have our meals, all the big tables with 10 other boys.
It's so warm in here, the way a home should feel.
And right in here is,
I almost forgotten what home feels like.
I'll show you the kitchen. This is where
What eating at a kitchen table feels like.
we cook our meals.
What taking a shower feels like. What sleeping in a bed feels like.
See you in the morning. Good night.
I close my eyes and I think about that family adventure that I've always dreamed of. My family adventure, it isn't just a dream anymore. I miss Mom. Jonah and I talked with her on the phone from time to time. She says she's trying to do better. I sure hope that's true. I wish she was here so she could meet the cottage parents that take care of us. I wish she could see how we pray for her. She'd hear them talk about Jesus and how much he loves us, and how he can heal the hurts in her life. Just like he's helping all the kids here. Kids have been through a lot. And she could remember how good home feels, and what it's like to have a family. Because that's what John and I have here at Baptist Children's Homes. A family.
I promised you to tell you the rest of the story. The rest of the story is this. Mom never came around, unfortunately. The boys were in our care for about 7 or 8 months, and then went to a foster family, a wonderful foster family. And we kept hoping and praying that Mom could get some sort of deliverance from the drug addiction that she had. But it never happened. And she finally decided she just didn't want to put forth the effort anymore. The parental rights were terminated and the boys were put up for adoption. But this is the good part of the story. Show the next picture. Last week, the family that fostered those boys adopted them, and they had an adoption party a week ago today, and they are at home. I know this couple personally. I went through the Baptist Student Union at Western Carolina with Janina, who's the mom. They are fantastic. Show the next photo. This is their Christmas picture now. So these boys are very happy, and they have a forever home now. And just great, great boys. Pray for them, though. As with any family, it's hard sometimes. And they've got some recovering to do and will. But they have a wonderful family now. And we are thankful for the ability to take them in our residential program, which was very valuable for them, all the way into foster care, then all the way up through adoption. And it's the way it's supposed to work when things don't work. I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me today. You can do it before you leave, or you can do it when you get home. I want you to think, when was the last time somebody wrote you a note? Handwritten note, not a text, not a smiley emoji, an actual handwritten note. They're kind of cool to get, aren't they? I'm going to ask you to do that today. I've got some cards up here, and you can fill out your name and information if you want to hear more stories, but you don't have to. What I really want you to do is there's just a little space on there, and I want you to write a note to a child. There's not a lot of room, so we don't want a book, or we don't want Joe's epistle to the Baptist Children's Home children. We just need a note, and it can be anything like, I'm praying for you, I'm lifting you up before Jesus today. Or maybe your favorite verse. I'm telling you, these kids love to get a handwritten note from somebody. They love it. They'll put it on their little bulletin board beside their bed. They'll read them at night. If they've got 2 or 3, they'll read these notes. Somebody out there loves me. And they demonstrated it by taking the time to think about what they would write and actually take their pen out, if they can find one, and write something to me. Think about when your husband or wife or mom or dad or whoever takes the time to write you a note. How does it make you feel? It's even more important to a child. And trust me, they would love, 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 love to get a note from you. I'll tell you, even this morning, your pastor left me a note thanking me for coming today. He couldn't be here, but he left a handwritten note for me. No pastor has ever done that before. What a guy. And I loved getting that. He sat down and he took some time to do that. And I know how much I appreciate that. Think about doing that. I've got plenty of cards. If not, I've got some more in the truck. Look, thank you guys for having me here today. What a wonderful congregation you are. And thank you for all the support that you give and that you continue to give, both in your gifts, your volunteering, especially your prayers. I'm privileged to be here today, and I hope I get to come back again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you for coming and sharing with us all that is happening at the Baptist Children's Home, and you have a part of that when you give, but there's a lot more that you can do other than giving. You know, after the Cook video, the family that had adopted and fostered so many children, there was a question at the end. It said, "Is God calling you?" And I think that's a question that each of us need to be thinking about today. Is God calling me? Perhaps He's calling you to be a part of the Baptist Children's Home in fostering, in adoption, or God may be calling you for another reason this morning. After hearing the message and hearing what's going on, how God is moving throughout the state of North Carolina, and beyond that, down in Guatemala, God may be calling you for something else as well. He may be calling you for salvation. If you have never accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior and Lord, we don't want you to leave here today without having that opportunity. I'll be down front here in just a moment as we stand. Our praise team, they will be leading us in a song. And if you feel that you would like to know more about becoming a Christian, about knowing Jesus Christ as your personal Savior and Lord, I'll be down here. Or perhaps you would like to come and just pray about what God is calling you to do. Perhaps He's calling you to foster. Perhaps He's calling you for adoption. Perhaps He's calling you for something else. But the altar will be open for you to come. And so let's just stand together now and sing together as our praise team leads us.